Hello everyone. This is another rookie tutorial. Um, and it is not in my usual format for them. This is a tutorial for competitive Australians, for rookies, for beginners. Um, and it's not in my usual format because I've thought about doing the PowerPoint presentation thing that I've done before, and it doesn't really work with Australians. Um, so what I would rather do is I would take you to Easy Army and go and show you how I would build an Australian list if I was starting out with that. So let's go. Here we have it. Um, this is the Australian Reinforced Platoon from the New Guinea book. This is sort of the generic reinforced platoon of Australia, even though Australia is not an independent nation as such. They're just part of the Commonwealth, and this is really a theatre selector. Um, it, Many TOs will allow this as being a full nation generic reinforced platoon. They even have their own national characteristics and everything. So this is sort of what you can do. And you'll notice immediately that it sort of lacks a few of the normal things. And this is where you can see it's a theatre selector, not really a generic reinforced platoon, because it doesn't have an armored car slot. That, for our purpose, doesn't really matter that much. I will show you how to make this in a way where you can sort of still get the most out of what you want here. So we have 6 infantry squads to play around with. We have 5 transport slots. We have a tank slot, a tow slot, and an artillery slot. We have a machine gun, mortar, sniper, flamethrower, and anti-tank, and that is basically it. The Australians are a nation that really lends itself to skirmish infantry, and we can see that nowhere more clearly than in the national characteristics. You get to pick one of 3, and then you have some other characteristics on top of that. So we have Australia's next, which is all infantry gain the stubborn special rule, which is quite nice. It helps you against flamethrowers, and it does mean that you are way more likely to pass all the tests, morale tests. Then we have the fighting withdrawal, which is Australian infantry and militia units may advance backwards toward their own table edge and then flip their dice into ambush. Sort of like what the Finnish can do. Um, for me, however, that national special rule is not really worth it because you don't actually get the bonus. So you're just moving back and going on ambush. Not that much of a thing, really. It's a bit finicky and gimmicky, so it doesn't really benefit me that much, I think. And the final one that you can take is Jungle Warfare Masters, which means that infantry squads and officers do not suffer the -1 penalty if they lose their NCO. Nice little bonus. Also, all infantry units may go down as a reaction to an ambush, even if they have already activated that turn. Now, this is again a bit of a gimmick because that's actually only something that can happen at the end of a turn, right? Um, Unless you're getting ambushed because you've charged something and killed it, and now you're doing that. What's it called? Where you move after you've fought in close combat. Um, so it's not something that will crop up often. This Jungle Warfare Masters. But not suffering the -1 for losing NCOs. Okay, that could actually be beneficial. Um, the other things that you get, no matter what you're doing, is aggressive patrolling, which means that I may choose to place all my forward deployers first. And this is a good point. This is actually a really good point when you're playing Australians. That means that you can deny certain areas to the enemy because enemy forward deployers cannot deploy within 18 inches, which means that you can totally dominate the center of the board by placing your forward deployers. That is really interesting. Also, Australian infantry spot hidden enemies at 12 inches. Really nice, right? Then we have the never give up. When defending during an assault, Australian infantry and artillery count as having the fanatic special rule. This again lends itself to a very specific style of play where your infantry wants to be in area terrain. You want to be defending obstacles as much as possible, because then you're fighting simultaneously and you're fanatics, which means that you're a beast in close combat. You don't want to go charging, but you do want the enemy to try and charge you. And then we have the final one. That was stubborn. That was only, yeah. So these are the special rules. For me, the one I want to go with is the Australia is next, which will give all my infantry stubborn. There we go. Now, we're going to have to buy an officer. For me, again, I am just paying the tax here, so I will buy the inexperienced second lieutenant. I am going to use most of my points, if not all of my points, on infantry. Now, this is the infantry selection, not very big. We have Australian infantry sections, we have militia sections, we have jungle divisions, independent command. These are all good outflankers. We have some engineers as well, and we have the Papuan infantry battalion and the native irregulars. Now, for me, the Papuan infantry battalion is really interesting because these they don't benefit from the never give up special rule, but they are stubborn. So they don't have that rule where you get fanatic in close combat, but they are stubborn because they do benefit from everything else. So, and I can use forward deployment, may begin hidden or on ambush, which means that all my infantry here, if I buy these guys, I can start on the center of the board and I can start hidden, in cover, in ambush. I can hit the enemy's back line from the start. That is extremely strong. So what I want here is I want skirmish units. I want decently sized skirmish units that can deliver damage with their rifles, and they are going to be hidden and on ambush when I start. Maybe I want them to be veteran, or maybe I can go with regular for these Papuans. I think I will go with 8-man regulars. And I want 2 of these, and because I can choose to deploy my infantry first, I can really I can block up the table. The enemy will not be able to deploy their infantry or their forward deployers anywhere near where I want to go. Now, that's all good. Now, so that was the basic selection. We've chosen our national characteristic. We get our infantry, the basic line, basic first skirmish line of infantry. They're going to be out front, and they are going to try and pin down enemy artillery, enemy things that are dangerous for me with their rifle fire. Now we're going to have something in our back lines to support them. So I am going to go with a inexperienced medium mortar. And I think just because we can, we're going to dominate with our snipers and forward deployers. So I am buying a sniper as well. I am also getting myself a light howitzer. This can only be bought regular. I am adding the spotter. I don't want it to be a 25-pounder short because that will remove the gun shield. I like the gun shield. Limited logistical support. Can't remember what that special rule does. Anyways, this is what I want. There we go. Now, so that's 360 points. Now I think we can make this even better if we add in something that can attack, and for that we're going to go and get ourselves a Darker Steward. There we go. That was the Darker Steward. And because we can, I think we should go and get ourselves some more support. Now, for me, I think I actually this is not very competitive, but I just want to recommend the LVT Buffalo here. You can get that a regular one for 123 points. Then you add in a forward-facing MMG and maybe even a Paulson gun. It is really cool. It's a miniature tank, and uh, with all them machine guns, it's going to be really good. However, unfortunately, the Bren carrier is a better pick for the points. We're going to add pintle-mounted LMGs for these, and we're going to buy a lot of them. We're going to buy all the Brens that we can, more or less. Oh, I forgot the pintle-mounted here. For each of these Bren carriers, I want a jungle engineer section. Now, we can have inexperienced engineers with flamethrowers. That is the cheapest you can ever get a flamethrower. Should you do it? No, but the idea is very appealing, isn't it? And I'm just buying these engineers to get the flamethrower. I don't want any of the SMGs, all that. That is not really what we're about here. We're just getting some. Here we go. Oh, I forgot the flamethrower. Why do I do that? Okay, flamethrower. There we go. And then we buy a flamethrower team as well, regular. There we go. And they can go in another Bren carrier with a pintle-mounted LMG. So you can already see right now we have 4 armored vehicles that can split fire all of them. We have 2 HE weapons. We have 3 forward deployers. We have 3 flamethrowers. So a lot of different, very, very strong stuff. And I think we can actually go and get ourselves some more infantry here. Now, going with the independent commandos that can outflank better is a fun option. I am not going to do that. They get +1, ignore the -1 modifier, and they can take a lot of SMGs and stuff, but it all becomes very expensive. So for me, I would rather take regular infantry. They're perfectly fine backline holders. So a 5-man unit of those, and maybe another unit. Oh, that's platoon scout team. What is that? Ooh, forward deployment. Count as observer snipers. Yes, yes, that is perfectly fine. We do that. Right, 982 points. For 18 points, what are we going to buy? I think we're going to buy our lieutenant some extra men. Equip them with SMGs and have them in one of those Bren carriers. There we go. They can go in with the flamethrower team. That would be my suggestion for how to run Australians. As you can see, Australians is more or less a mono build, and that was why I wanted to show it to you here, because you can't go very many different ways. You can't go an artillery heavy Australian list. You can go skirmish infantry. You can buy even more skirmish infantry than what I have here. More Papuans or AIF infantry sections. You can go and buy some of the outflankers, but that is not especially strong because most good players will notice that. But this is a good combination of a strong forward deployment element, skirmishes, a strong flamethrower element, a strong tank element, and a fairly good HE element. So that would be my suggestion. 15 order dice, 996 points. Second lieutenant with extra men, 2. Papuan, double Papuan infantry sections, regulars, 7 men rifle squads. They will start hidden and on ambush. Possibly they will even start by shooting at enemy emplacements like guns, because they can't hide those. The platoon scouts with submachine guns also forward deploying. We have jungle engineers, 2 of those, regulars with flamethrowers. We have a regular section backline holders, riflemen. We have a medium mortar, inexperienced sniper team, a flamethrower team, a light howitzer with the 25-pound thing, HE2, and a Darkhet Stuart tank, and 3 Bren carriers. That is my suggestion. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time. Cheers.